like greet you and look you straight in the eyes, and you in your head you're like, am I in like a counseling session right now? You know? But he makes you feel so seen. And when I could tell how I felt seen by him, I would want to make that impact in other people's lives. I just love how when he walks into the room, besides it being brighter, but it's lighter, you know, and also how he's just encouraged us with also not being scared of the industry. Welcome to Giving Spring Podcast. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy a Red Bull. And we are so excited today. We have a special guest with us, Carrie. Please give her a round of applause. And it's going to be so exciting to have her with us. I loved how we spoke last week about, love and relationship and parenting. And that topic today, we're going to be switching it up and going back into the depth of psychology. And, as we mentioned last time that we are students, and Carrie is also a student. And we're going to be talking about our different perspectives, our different experiences being a psychology student in different institutions as well.
Yep. Okay, welcome. We are so happy to have you here. Before we get off, we just want a little bit about background. I think especially the viewers want to get to know us a little bit more, each of us. So maybe share a little bit more about you and what can I say? Favorite color? Okay. Name, favorite color, and why you chose psychology.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So my name is Okeri, like they said. And my favorite color is purple. It's been my favorite color forever and ever. And yeah, like they said, I'm a psychology student. I'm doing my undergrad. I'm in my final year, so I still have a long journey to go. But a bit of a background why I chose to study psychology is because it's just a passion. And I know everyone says that, but I think for me, I always knew that I wanted to do something that has to do with helping people. And I thought a lot. I thought about nursing, being a doctor, and I was like, I don't want to deal with the blood, the sick things and all of that. So I was like, why not deal with people's emotions? Because that's also another form of helping people. And I have also seen that I tend to want to always be there to solve people's problems. So it does kind of feel like a calling for me. And that's why I chose to study psychology. And it's also interesting understanding how, human behavior is, our personalities, everything. It's very interesting.
That's incredible. Thank you so much for that. I think it's very also relevant, we can relate to that.
Yeah.
Where it's just I'm an empath at times. I'm just I so sympathize with you and understand what you're going through, and, taking the decision of studying psychology is, I think it's one of those scary ones because we know how saturated the industry is and how difficult it can become. So even with that, tell us about the institution that you go to.
How does that help you to become the psychologist that you want to be?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm studying at the South African College of Applied Psychology, in short, SACAP. And it's honestly a wonderful institution, I should say, because I feel like it's very, our classes are very small. So they really focus on it's like a one-on-one thing. And it also, we do applied psychology. So a lot of the things are practical, whereas, our lecturers are practicing psychologists. So they do bring the reality into the classes. So just a bit of a background of the school, that's what makes it really nice. And for me, I'm doing a Bachelor of Social Sciences, majoring in psychology and counseling. So I'm doing the route that's 3 years. The bachelor's is 3 years. And like I said, this is my final year. So I would obviously need to continue afterwards. And the route I need to take to become like a psychologist, I need to do a BPsych equivalent for honors. And that's about a year and a half. So, after this, I still have a year and a half. And I'm also still thinking about continuing at SACAP because I do like the practical side of things. I feel like I do learn a lot. And after that, obviously, I would need to think about masters later, but it's still I wanna focus on the now than the later.
Mm.
It gets stressful. I can imagine that you guys also understand how stressful it gets thinking of how long of a journey it is. And I think Sipokasi also mentioned how saturated it is. And for me, that was something I didn't know. I got into this field blindly. I thought it's just like
Mhm.
4 years and then I'm a psychologist. Little did I know that it's not that easy. Like it's a whole, how many years? 7 years, something.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it takes to be a doctor. Hey.
Yeah. But in other words, we are doctors of minds, you know. Don't downplay your psychologist. Those people eat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
True. I love that we come from like different. We have different perspectives because for me, I studied at Northwest University. You at SACAP and you at Eduvos.
Yeah.
So I like that it's like it doesn't matter. There's like a lot of schools that can help teach you or help start with psychology, and then as you like climb the ladder, it kind of gets more narrower because it's just so difficult. Like you say, the process is just so very competitive. So I like that you mentioned that. But we also know that studying psychology can be so stressful. Like you, especially those scenarios that they give you in the exam where it's like this person was drinking alcohol or something, he had like depression, how would you diagnose him? Those stuff are so difficult. But how do you cope with dealing with the stress of wanting to study psychology?
I think I should be honest that at times I don't cope as well. And I think that's also like a thing with psychology students. We kind of tend to neglect ourselves. It's like it's like the handbook is given to us. We know what to do, like how to help people who are going through difficult times. But then when it comes to ourselves, we tend to neglect ourselves. So I should admit that at times it really, I, I only see that I need to help myself when I'm like at the bottom, when I'm drowning. And I'm like, you know what, this is not healthy for me. So I like to take on a lot, right? So, like studying psychology is already a lot, like the workload, the reading, the studying, like everything is so much. And I still like to take on extra things on the side. And I think it does get overwhelming for me. And I feel exhausted so many times because I'm like, how do I juggle everything at once? And I do see that it causes me to stress. And when I stress, it messes with like everything emotionally. And it takes a lot for me to actually realize that I do need to take a step back and just, get myself together. So what I do is just, take a step back, like just try to gather myself, do things I love. Like sometimes you just need to also cry. It's okay to cry. Cry and get up and be like, okay, I got this, and just do things you like. Like I enjoy my own time. I enjoy being alone sometimes. I enjoy, some Netflix, listening to music, reading, just like things to uplift me again. So I think that's how I truly get through the stress of studying psychology. But it takes me a lot to realize I actually need to get out of that sport.
Oh man, I can totally relate with that. I think we can even pose that same question to you and I, even in different institutions. Like, how different
Yeah.
is our experience? For instance, I can take an example of myself. I'm in Eduvos, Eduvos, it being like a private institution, it's very small. I'm doing a bachelor's in arts in psychology and human resources. So it's also a double major. So sometimes the human resources part can be very boring, Can
Tell
be
me about
very
it.
boring, but I think I've come to a point where I've loved to realize with the oh man, psychology and human resources we can meet, you know? And then obviously others would label it as industrial psych, but guys, I'm doing two majors. And I see myself going more in the psychology route because of how I have a passion for it and how much I love it as well. And as Okira was just sharing about how, sometimes you take a lot on yourself, I'm in the same boat as well, where I feel like I overwork myself and I take too much for my plate. And it's it's hard. It's hard. I used to say this thing of
Yeah.
take it one day at a time. And then I saw a TikTok where this guy was just like, what do you expect me to do? Am I going to skip Tuesday? I can't skip Tuesday. Of course, I'm going to take it one day at a time. And then that kind of forced me to actually look into deeper what do I mean when I say take it one day at a time. I think it helped me as well to be realistic. Take it 1 minute at a time, take it 1 hour at a time, because if I'm gonna overly think about the future, it's going to really disturb me in my present, like being present on now and trying my best now. Like I understand the goal and the goal and the future that I want, but it shouldn't interrupt with what I have to accomplish right now. So
Yeah, I think even for me, I studied industrial organizational psychology with labor relations. So it was also like you said, it's like more businessy than it was actually like psychology, because, but yeah, I also just agreed. Like I just also wanted to go into the psychology part. Like I knew from like when I graduated matric from like grade 10, I knew like this is what I want to do with my life. So with studying psychology and the business side of things, it was very difficult, especially when I got to my third year and I had like subjects that had nothing to do with psychology, and I was so frustrated because it felt like they're going to keep me behind. And it just made me think of how sometimes even though our journey is different, it's still worth it in the end. And even though we have like we're not studying psychology, like general psychology, because I don't know if there is like um a degree specifically in South Africa where it's just psychology. It's always psychology with something, as far as I'm concerned. I might be wrong. But we always have like you hear of people having psychology and IT, psychology and business, psychology and social work, psychology and something. It's always with something. So I think that really impacted like how difficult it is for students who just want to pursue psychology. And then never mind the fact that especially in South Africa we have like a lot of theory based work in undergraduate level, and that is so difficult because by the time you want to do your postgrad, it's so difficult because you don't have the experience within the field. So, how does it make you feel knowing that you study psychology, but then it's mostly theory work and not that much practical? How does it influence your decision?
It is a bit scary because in the beginning, obviously Sipokasi made a joke that don't play, we're also doctors and all of that. So it does become a bit scary because like with the theory part, you're just learning the theory, but like in reality, what are you going to do if a person comes to you? Let's say one day in the future, I am like an actual psychologist, and this person comes to me and is like, this and this happened to me. How exactly do I like, put what I learned into action? So I think that's why with psychology, we do need like the practical side of things because you only learn from practice, is what I believe. So it does become a bit stressful. It does, like, you can go through studying, and once you actually need to do the work, you feel like you don't actually know what you're doing. So I think for me, it does put me in the position of not knowing exactly what I'm doing. And I think I did explain that my school does include like the practical side of things a bit, but we still focus on the theory a lot. So just this also reminded me of so we're gonna do our practical soon. And they were just like preparing us. And I was also thinking that, let's say they place me, like I feel like I won't actually know what to do or what to say with these people. Like in my head, I feel like I know, but like when you are actually sitting in front of someone, this person is literally trusting you with everything. They are going through a very difficult time in their life, and they are looking to you to kind of pull them out of that dark place. So I feel like it does also put a lot on my back that can I really do this? Can I really help this person? So I think it is really, I don't know, we can't really change much right now, but I think it is very important for them to incorporate more of like the practical side of things, the applied side of things, while the theory is still there, because it's the only way for us to really learn what to do.
I agree. So, yeah, I'm just even thinking as, a psychology student, I don't know if you guys fall into this trap, but also juggling social life was a little bit hard because there was maybe like a little moment where I was diagnosing everyone in my head. I was like, oh, you might be
I
have
do
this.
that still today.
You might have that. So how has it been like, maybe even being surrounded and somebody does come and confide in you? How has it, like, how do you maneuver around when such things happen?
So I feel like again there are two sides to it because I also do have that problem where I'll be sitting and listening to people and I'll be like, you had this sort of personality, but obviously I say it in my head, right? But I think when people come to confide in me, I think in the beginning it was very, I'd love to help, I'd love to give my, 2 cents and everything. But I think over time, which um, I think we don't talk about it a lot. I think studying psychology also plays with our own mental health because I think you also get to learn a lot about yourself. And if you kind of see things that, you never realized before, and it does become a bit too much for you. So I think, especially studying psychology, people will come to me, like, I need this and this and this and this. And I feel like it becomes a bit too much for me because I'm like, I'm just one person and I'm also just a student. I don't yet know. So please take it easy with me. So it does get overwhelming for me, especially since now I'm also like trying to diagnose myself, trying to help myself out. And I feel like I also can't really be fully there for other people. So it does, I mean, there are times where, I jump to it and I'm happy to assist, but then sometimes it becomes overwhelming for me. Like, I can't do this. Like, I'm losing my mind. I'm just one person. I need a break. And I think that's why they say that you also shouldn't deal with people that you have personal relationships with because it becomes kind of more heavy because you take the burden on you. It becomes more personal. You wanna like take their problems away, whereas you really can't. So it can become a lot, but at the same time, there are times where, I want to practice what I'm learning.
Yeah, I like that. I like that
Same.
that you saying that you want to practice what you're learning. But hi, my family members and friends are always like, oh, guys, Siobhan, I'm struggling with this, and I'm like, okay, but I can't help you. Or like,
I'm
there's
not
like
professional yet.
exactly, I'm not a professional. I'm a student. Like, all I know is textbook answers, and then it's also like the fact of like it's also kind of unethical. Like you mentioned,
Yes.
okay, where I think there is a rule about confidentiality where you have to, when it comes to your family or friends or close relatives, you have to send them to a different psychologist because otherwise you can also have
Conflict of
the
interest.
conflict and a very biased
Bias.
opinion. So you won't probably diagnose them. But I was thinking of while you're saying all of this, and I'm thinking about how so many people really don't understand it. So many people don't understand, like, when it's you studying psychology, it doesn't mean that you are there yet. It's like the same with when you're a doctor or when you're a lawyer. Just because you're studying it doesn't mean that you can kind of associate a certain situation or scenario of real life that family are facing to what you're studying. So I like that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, okay, with your journey of psychologist, is there any psychologist that stands out to you, whether that you read about or someone that you just aspire to be that you know personally?
That is actually a good question. Not necessarily someone I read about, but someone I know. She's actually a lecturer of mine. She's Dr. Mandu, so she's a clinical psychologist. But she just inspires me so much because you know how we spoke about how competitive it is to get into the field and everything. She kind of started with something different, but she always talks about how, with psychology, there isn't one way to get there. There are so many ways, but it's all about you having a passion for it, you being determined, like just pursuing this degree. So just her story. So she did her master's while, she was already an adult. She was already like having her life going, but she was like, she wants to be a psychologist and she managed to accomplish it. And I think the reason she inspires me is because I think Sipokati also spoke about it a bit earlier, whereas you kind of feel like you're in a rush, you want to get there already. And at times you feel like you're falling behind because of obviously how long the degree is. Like to actually become a registered psychologist, it's not something easy. So I do find myself at times feeling like, I look at my friends studying other things, like 4 years, they're done, they're working, they're settled, everything, and I'm still here studying. So it does become really like challenging for me. And I'm like, do I really want to do this? Like, when am I ever going to finish? But this lady just showed me that, like the journey can be difficult, but once you get there, you're really going to enjoy it. Because I look at her. She's working at an addiction center. She works at hospitals. She has her own practice. So, she's really involved. And I think I want to be someone like that. I don't want to just, be in one space. I want to make a difference to so many people like her. So that's why she really inspires me. And she made it. So she's kind of my motivation that I can also make it one day.
I love that. Shout out to Dr. Mandy, right? Mandu.
Mandu.
Yeah, Dr. Mandu. She's awesome. I also think of my lecturer, Mr. Harton, Dr. Harton. It's just that, when you meet them, they're like, don't call me doctor, no. But Dr. Harton Johannes, and he's just as you said, he's very like inspirational. One thing that he loves to do when we enter into class, he would like greet you and look you straight in the eyes, and you in your head you're like, am I in like a counseling session right now? But he makes you feel so seen. And when I could tell how I felt seen by him, I would want to make that impact in other people's lives. I just love how when he walks into the room, besides it being brighter, but it's lighter, and also how he's just encouraged us with also not being scared of the industry. Like you can come in different ways. Maybe you're not going to get your master's now, but there's a different kind of master's that you can go apply for. Or you can go volunteer. Be actually in the community, be part of the community if you want to make the change. And I think, lectures like that are definitely needed. Like they make us have hope. Like we have hope, good to yeah. We're definitely also gonna make such impacts as they are making.
Shout out to the lecturers.
Yeah.
For me, I don't think it was actually a lecturer. Like my lecturers were amazing, but I don't think. I mean, with Northwest University, there's so many students. I think we're like 500, 400 in a class. So it's very difficult to have like that personal interaction or, with your lecturer. So for me, I'd say people that inspired me to be a psychologist would be kind of my own experience with psychologists. When I was younger, I had someone from FAMSA, which is Families of South Africa. And I forgot her name, but she was really, really like the way she handled, what I was going through at that time, like with so much care and so much patience, and that just inspired me to become a psychologist. And also, one of the counseling psychologists that we have, Sylvia Kruger, shout out to her. She's also amazing at what she does, and she also has her own practice. So it also, like Okari says, like just having these people see that they can make it, knowing how difficult and competitive it is in South Africa, it just gives you that hope and motivation that you need to believe that you yourself can also make it.
I like that. Yeah. So even with that, I had another question that I wanted to maybe pose to you as well. In regards to your family, how are they handling knowing that they're gonna have a future psychologist in the house?
That's actually very interesting because, especially with my parents, they are the type to be like, you're a psychologist, so like I have this and this problem. And I'm like, I'm not a psychologist. I am a student. I'm not a psychologist yet. But I think they are also, I think I've seen the change because we should talk about how, sometimes mental health and the stigma that goes along with mental health, it's still there a lot. But I think just me studying psychology has also kind of opened up my family's minds a bit. They're a bit more open to mental health. And not only my parents, like I talk about my grandparents, my aunts, uncles, like everyone is a bit more open to, okay, so there is something called mental health. We do need psychologists, we do need this and this. Because, they never really believed in that. They just believed that, like people don't have problems, like those are not real. But I think they become a bit more open to it. So I am happy that at least I can bring that, to the family a bit. And they do seem excited because I mean, if when we do make it, we are actually doctors, so we still have that, yeah.
Yeah, love
Yeah.
that
And I think
support.
Yeah, and I think it also goes to show that, like, they're encouraging you to get this degree because they can see that they trust you. So imagine you have your family going to psychologists, and then you know how other people feel about, with your clients coming to you. So I think it just creates like this whole new world where everyone can just be open and more vulnerable and like eventually remove the stigma.
Yes. Eventually you remove the stigma. I can relate as well with my grandfather. I think the first time I told him I want to be a psychologist, he didn't even know what it was. He was like, not a doctor, okay. Next. But yeah, it's just wonderful to hear, that families play a big role in supporting us, even in this role of as a student in psychology.
Yeah.
And I do think that you do need that support because it's not easy. And at times you'll feel so alone. So and you also feel like giving up. But if you have someone there to motivate you, someone to keep encouraging you, it does also push you. So yeah.
Yeah. So we know that we've been speaking a lot about psychology and like what it means to us, but I want to talk a little bit about like the theory work. Has there been anyone that you read about, any psychologist that you read about that really impacted you, and who was it?
It really impacted me. I mean, I would obviously say, I wouldn't say impacted me, but I think their theories are kind of interesting. I would say Sigmund Freud. I think all psychology students would probably say that. The reason is just because I feel like obviously there are theories I like in his theory, there are things I do agree with and other things I don't agree with. But I think how he focuses on, like your early childhood kind of shapes who you become. I think it is very true. Like, children in their early stages, like how you bring them up does affect how or who they turn out to be to a certain extent. So that's why I kind of do like enjoy his theory because sometimes we we tend to forget that like things you went through at a young age could impact you when you're older. Because people are like, but you don't remember anything, but it's still psychologically, it's still there. And I think someone else is, her name is Karen Horney.
Yeah.
So obviously, the reason I like her is because she's a woman. Yeah.
Same. Like that was
She's
the
a
only
woman.
one that I know of that was mentioned.
Yeah, so she like when I learned about her, it became something. I was excited to also, and she's close to Freud. Like their theories are somehow similar, but obviously, I think with all those theories, there are things that they bring in that do make sense, and others are like a bit questionable. But overall, I think I do honestly enjoy that they speak about like your early childhood, like whatever you go through there and you having to solve all that to, really reach the, yeah. So yeah, that's why I do like them because they focus on that.
Okay, so my next question, I want to go back to our theory work. Who inspired you the most that you read about in your textbooks? Which psychologist impacted you the most?
Um, I think I would start with Sigmund Freud, obviously because he was one of the first theorists I learned about. So I think his work is still like really fresh in my mind. And there are obviously things I agree with in his theory and things that I also don't agree with. But I think what I really agree with his theory is how he emphasized like early childhood development, right? Like things that children go through can somehow affect, them in their adulthood. So he did speak about like things they need to accomplish or get over within that early childhood for them to kind of become better later on in life. And I think why I like this is because a lot of the time we tend to think that oh, you don't remember what happened in your childhood, so it doesn't really affect you. But psychologically, it does have an impact on you. And I think the other theorist will be Karen Horney. And I like her because she was the first female like theorist I learned about. So that was really exciting for me because I think throughout I learned a lot about the males and like finally hearing a female's voice and her thoughts was also really nice. And I think for her, I really like that she emphasized a lot on self-reflection and self-awareness. And that, after we are able to really gain that self-awareness, understand who we are, and, just love ourselves more, we are able to get through most things. So those two really stood out to me or stand out to me.
I like that.
Me too. I mean, that's awesome. Um, I think yeah, Sigmund Freud and Karen Horney have like a very um they have very unique perspective on psychology as a whole. For me, I would say the one that impacted me the most would be Carl Rogers. Um, I remember going through my psychology textbooks and I was like thinking what kind of like psychologist that I wanted to be, and I didn't have like a clear answer. So Carl Rogers is the one that stood out for me because of his client-centered approach. Just knowing that he wanted to create this environment where he wanted to be so focused and in tune of what the client was saying and how it feels for the client. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but the way that he described it was just so like mesmerizing and so inspirational. Because it was like he was talking about how he just wanted to be there for the client. And it's like, where we have the difference of sympathy and empathy. With sympathy, it's like you see someone in the ocean and you hand them a life what do you call that, a life jacket, right? And then you like rope them in order to save them, whereas with empathy it's like getting into the water and like not just saving the person but also just having that shared experience. So I think with Carl Rogers and his client-centered approach, it was more of doing that for a client, like completely removing yourself as a psychologist and just like feeling and experiencing and trying to understand, these different mental blocks in your head, like in his client's head, basically, and kind of feeling that experience like they are feeling it for themselves. And that just took like a whole different perspective for me as like my role as psychology. And there was in his book, I forgot the title of the book, but in his book is titled like how he wanted to be kind of like a midwife for like having this new personality being opened or released for the client. So I was like, that was so beautiful.
That sounds beautiful. Wow. No, that does sound beautiful. For me, I would say I really liked Gene Pidgeot, and he mostly spoke about, how your brain can be trained. Okay, well, let me put it this way, the two that I'm going to be talking about speak a lot about how your brain can be trained. And I found that very like inspiring because sometimes we think Kuti, oh no, okay, no, I'm only limited to knowing this much and studying this much. So he speaks about like how your environment takes place in how you're gonna get to study and get to learn and get to absorb information. And then same thing even in different stages, how much you absorb and how much you get to understand. So I really liked his theory. I think it really impacted me in a time where I was trying to figure out how do I study, like how do I learn, and like what kind of learning am I learning? Am I learning through people's experiences? Am I learning through conversation, or am I more of a theoretical and reading kind of learning kind of person? And then as well as our favorite Pavlov, I really liked him because it just showed me that you can train your brain as well, and you can train other people. It sounds a little bad at times because even the theory that he created with the dog and the salivating. Also, humans can fall into that trap, and you can also train another human. And I think it just shows good how we can also be trained into doing good things and making good decisions and making good habits for ourselves. So I was really inspired by those two.
And I think also understanding more about like the punishment and reward.
Oh yes, and the punishment and the reward. Yeah. Quickly learning what's wrong and right.
Yeah, especially for like people who can't recognize the difference. But
It's so interesting how they all tie in, because when you speak about like the punishment and the reward and how people recognize it, it also makes me think of Freud again, like with his id, ego and super ego, where we have these desires, but then over time you learn that this is wrong, this is right, and that's how you can make decisions again. So it's very interesting.
It is. It is.
so, because of time, I think we're gonna jump to our favorite part of the session, which is our game. So since we were talking a lot about psychologists and what we like about them, we're gonna see and test our knowledge on how well we actually know them. Okay, so this is kind of gonna be like an exam Q&A type thing, but either way. Okay, so the first round one. So this is kind of like the guest psychologist game. First clue. I conducted the famous experiment. Okay, you just mentioned this. I conducted the famous experiment where dogs learn to associate a bowel with food, demonstrating classical conditioning.
Yep, Ivan Pavlov.
Exactly. Okay. Second one. I believed that behavior is shaped by rewards and punishments, and developed the concept of operant conditioning using a special box for rats and pigeons.
Pablo again.
I think it was pigeon. What's his
Gene
name?
Pidgeot? Yes.
I think so.
I also think so.
Okay, let's hear.
It's
Oh wow, we are
It
so
is.
wrong. No,
It's not?
it's B.F. Skinner.
Oh, now Colonel Skinner. Yes.
Wow, that was so bad.
Colonel Oh man, there's a lot of them.
There's a lot of them. Okay,
go.
round 3. I created the hierarchy explaining human motivation, starting with basic needs like food and ending with self-actualization. Guys, we don't know this one.
Maslow.
Yes, Maslow hierarchy of needs.
Maslow.
Okay, Abraham. Wow, he's like a Bible name. We couldn't get it.
Oh,
Yes,
Abraham
Abraham
Maslow.
Maslow. Okay. Fourth one. I believe unconscious thoughts and childhood experience shape personality and develop psychoanalysis.
Yours, my baby girl.
Sigmund
Sigmund
Freud. Correct. Okay. 5. I studied children and proposed stages of cognitive development, such as sensory, motor, and formal operational stages.
Erickson? I don't know.
I was also gonna say
I
Eric
think it's Eric
Erickson.
Erickson because he was like,
Yes.
I don't know, he was allowed to do with the children. No, it's Jean Piaget.
Again, really?
Yeah, he's the one that. Wow.
Well,
just
I
talked
did
about
describe
him.
it, so with the learning stages and kids. Oh.
Okay, oh, got that one wrong.
But then also Eric Erickson did have stages.
I don't
kind
know.
of development.
Something
Yes.
standard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Means because I saw textbooks. Okay.
Yeah.
Next one. I ran a controversial experiment where participants thought they were delivering electric shocks to another person to study obedience to authority.
I know who this is.
I know who this is, but I don't know his name.
I know the whole thing, but the name.
I know like the experiment that was
Yes,
done, but the name. Okay, going once.
Go for it. Tell us.
Go ties, okay. It's Stanley Pilgrim. I would have never guessed that. Let me tell you.
I was gonna say maybe like John Watson or something.
I was never gonna guess that. Okay. Next one. I conducted the Stanford prison experiment to study how people behave in positions of power and authority.
I'm sorry, no. I don't think I can.
Open our textbooks.
I don't remember this at all.
I feel like what makes it also so difficult at times is that these studies have been replicated. Get what I mean? Like before by other people. So now in my head, like even like the previous one like we were just talking about, I had somebody else's name in mind instead of the actual theorist. So same situation here. Who's the man?
This is Philip. I don't even know how you say his name. Zimbardo?
Oh, okay. Philip Zimbardo.
Never heard of him.
I don't know the name.
Clearly he's not one of the OGs then. Okay, I focused on unconditional positive regard and believe people naturally strive toward growth and fulfillment. I feel like this is Eric Erickson. I don't know.
Yes, I was gonna say Carl Rogers. But
Yeah.
is it
Positive regard, yeah, that does sound like Carl Rogers. Oh, you got it right. It's Carl Rogers. Wow, I got that so wrong. Anyway, okay, last two. I propose that people learn behaviors by watching others, demonstrated in the famous Bobo doll experiment.
I know the experiment. I don't know the name, the person.
What's the experiment? And
Learn behaviors by watching others. I don't know this one.
and you find out it's so easy.
I know, right?
And like I want to say the same person again, like because
You think it's Carl Rogers?
not per se Carl Rogers. I think Eric Erickson.
I love how I see Eric Erickson like 3 times. It's not appearing. Let's see. Oh, it's Albert Bandura. I'll be honest, I was not focused on him in learning that, but okay. Okay, last one. I created the theory of psychosocial development with stages like identity versus role confusion.
Okay, fine. Now that's our man. That's our man.
Yeah, that's Eric Erickson. Yep, correct.
But I like how psychology is so intertwined. Like it might be different subjects or different experiments or different theories, but they all have like
Link
one
up.
similar theme to them. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, okay, for joining us for this podcast. I don't know if it touched a lot with regards to our viewers and what they would say about psychologists, but I know that I enjoyed it. And I think I learned a lot more from you guys about psychology than I would have, than I would have done if I'd done it alone, like individually studied. So thank you guys. This was
Thank
fun.
you. Yeah, till
Thanks
next
for
time.
having me.
Oh,
Thank you for being present and for taking the time. We know how difficult it must have been for you, so we
yes.
appreciate you so much.
Yeah, and I love how this is not scripted in any way, shape, or form, but then, it is very much just from our heart and our own understanding. So, yeah, this is not a diagnosis to anyone, but it's just us, sharing our thoughts and what we've experienced and what our journey looks like in psychology.
Yeah. Till next time.
Thank you.
Bye.